He demanded to adopt not one child, not even two, but 3 black baby girls, all dressed in matching pink lace outfits. His insistence sent murmurs rippling through the courtroom. Friends whispered that Jonah had lost his mind. Neighbors called him reckless. Even his fiancée, the woman he had once imagined building a family with, walked away rather than stand by his side. Yet Jonah never flinched. He refused to watch the sisters be separated into different foster homes, each one vanishing into a different life. 40 years later, the world would look back at that impossible moment and see how one man's defiance gave rise to something extraordinary. 3 women who would grow to change countless lives, and a father whose devotion never cracked. But before we dive into how that legacy was built, pause for a moment. Let us know down in the comments, what time is it where you are right now, and from which part of the world are you watching this story? Now let's return to that decisive year, 1985. The county foster office was not a place of warmth. Its cracked linoleum floors gave off a dull sheen under the relentless glare of buzzing fluorescent lights. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant and exhaustion, the kind of odor that clung to government buildings where too many decisions about children's futures were made in haste. Jonah Pierce sat stiff-backed in a plastic chair, his pale pink-ribbed shirt damp at the armpits, jaw tight with determination. His hands gripped his knees as if bracing against the tide of doubt pressing in from every side. Across from him sat 3 toddlers, huddled together on a sagging couch with springs that creaked under their tiny weight. They were striking. 3 little black girls dressed in identical pink lace dresses, their curls tucked neatly, their wide brown eyes alert and searching. Their silence was unnerving. They didn't fidget, didn't cry, didn't speak. They only clung to one another, their small fingers twisted so tightly that prying them apart would have required force. It was as if they already knew that noise, any noise, might be the excuse adults needed to separate them. At the desk, a weary social worker named Ruth Delgado tapped the end of her pen against a thick stack of files. She studied Jonah with skepticism, her brow furrowed. "Mr. Pierce," she said firmly, "we have to be realistic here. You're 24. You're single. You rent a room. You work nights in the hospital laundry. You can't possibly think you can handle 3 children at once." Jonah's voice came out steady but sharp. "They're not 3. They're one set. If you split them, you break them." Ruth exhaled, shifting in her chair. "We do have a couple who expressed interest in adopting Amar alone. The other 2 would likely—" "No," Jonah cut in, his tone hard enough to stop her. He leaned forward, planting his palms flat on the desk. "Don't finish that sentence. Look at them." He pointed toward the couch, where the toddler's tiny fists were interlocked. "Do you see those hands? You'd need an army to separate them. They only sleep side by side. They only stop crying when they can hear each other. That isn't paperwork, Ms. Delgado. That's family. That's bond." From the corner, another voice broke in, a sharp, disapproving one. Mrs. Kellerman, Jonah's landlady, had insisted on attending the meeting, arguing that as the property owner, she had a stake in whatever chaos might soon take over her building. She crossed her arms, her thin mouth set in a line. "Bond doesn't pay rent, Mr. Pierce," she snapped. "You're already late on your last month, and 3 babies crying at all hours. My walls are paper thin. Do you expect me to listen to complaints from every other tenant?" Jonah turned toward her, his temper flaring. "Then raise my rent. Double the deposit if you have to. But don't you dare tell me they don't deserve walls of their own to cry behind. I'll figure it out. They can share. They'll have love and they'll have a home. That's worth more than silence." Ruth pinched the bridge of her nose, clearly torn between sympathy and procedure. "Mr. Pierce, think carefully. You don't have a wife. You don't own your home. You barely scrape by. And let's not forget, your fiancée has already contacted me. She doesn't support this." "Vera," Jonah muttered bitterly. The name tasted sour. "Yeah, she gave me a choice. Said she wouldn't marry a man who drags 3 kids home out of—" "What did she call it?" "Out of pity. And what did you tell her?" Ruth asked, her tone probing. "I told her love isn't pity," Jonah answered without hesitation. "And if she couldn't see that, then she isn't the woman I thought she was." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the lights. On the couch, the toddlers stirred. The smallest of them, Nia, slipped her hand free from her sister's grip and stretched it out toward Jonah. Her sleeve, edged with pink lace, slid down her thin arm. Jonah slowly pushed his chair back and knelt down on the scuffed linoleum. He let Nia's fingers curl into his beard, a touch feather-light. The other two girls, Amma and Zola, scrambled down from the couch, wobbling on unsteady legs until they were pressed against him, too. Jonah gathered them all, one in each arm and the third leaning against his chest. "You see?" Jonah's voice cracked with emotion. "I don't need blood to be their father. They've already chosen me." That image, a young man in a worn pink shirt kneeling on the floor, clutching three children who clung back as though their lives depended on it, would be burned into every memory in that room. The court hearing that followed was anything but simple. The law did not bend easily, and challenges would rise the moment Jonah tried to move forward. A distant relative appeared ready to contest the adoption, and Jonah would find himself battling not just paperwork, but prejudice, poverty, and the weight of every doubt cast on his shoulders. But that moment in the foster office was where the story truly began. The challenge came quickly. A distant relative appeared out of nowhere, demanding rights to only one of the sisters, Amma. Her argument was cruel in its practicality. If separated, Amma might have a better chance of being adopted into a stable home. The courtroom where this played out was stuffy, heavy with the scent of wood polish and sweat, the kind of place where futures were carved apart by ink and gavel. Judge Hart, a stern man,